Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. So, we are now going to be going live on the second live session of today with a musician all the way from Los Angeles, California. And we are going to be talking about music. So, let's get Madeline Roseanne on the live. Send this to Madeline quickly. Send. Super. Just waiting for Madeline to join us. She should be here any moment. Here we go. View.
Madeline,
Hey, hey, how are you?
good. And yourself?
I'm doing well.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you on and share the knowledge, spread the positivity with what you do in music. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here.
Super. So, before we get the conversation going, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do, and then we can move
Sure.
forward.
Yeah, my name's Madeline Rosine. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm based in Los Angeles, but right now I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Um, I'm kind of taking a break from Los Angeles for a few months,
Okay.
just because of everything that's going on here in the U.S. Um, so yeah, I write music and I perform music, and I have a new album coming out this year, and I actually already put out an album this year too.
Super. That's absolutely amazing what you're doing. I mean, I've seen your profile and I've seen some of the stuff and the songs that you've sung. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So, I ask this to all my guests that come on here. I mean, when we're growing up as kids, you're pretty young as well. But as we're growing up as kids, we aspire to be, we try to go into all sorts of careers, such as being an architect, being a doctor, being a lawyer, or being a musician, being an actor, artist, all that kind of stuff. I mean, did you aspire always to become a musician, or was there something else at the back of your mind that, you wanted to become a doctor or lawyer? Was there something else?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to be a singer and that I wanted to do what my mom did because my mom is a jazz vocalist. And
Okay.
she's performed all over the place with the Harry James Orchestra, and she used to play with Les Paul and all sorts of really cool people. And I
Wow.
remember, like in third grade, they'd be like, "Oh, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I drew like a picture of my mom, with like little musical notes coming out of her mouth. But
Okay.
when I got to college, I was really interested in medicine, and I actually was pre med for 2.5 years. And now my day job is working for a medical journal.
Wow.
Um, so I do a lot.
So
And
you are into medical and you're into music as well.
yeah, I do a lot of things.
But which
Um,
one goes forward? Which one leads the way?
I mean, music is always going to be my number one passion in life. I can't
Okay.
I can't do life without music. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's so therapeutic for me that I can't imagine my life without exploring that passion.
Of course, that's absolutely amazing. So you mentioned that you were into college and that sort of put you into that medical sort of field. I mean, you were interested in that field. Can I ask why was that? Why? I mean, having that background coming from the family where your mother was a musician, and you said that you wanted to be a musician, but then you sort of diverted yourself into medical. Why was that?
Um, well, my dad is in the medical industry. He sells medical equipment like MRI and things like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And then my grandpa was an orthopedic surgeon. He's retired now.
Okay.
Um, so I have, kind of a
So you
medical
have the medical
history.
background and the
Yeah.
musical background as well.
And also it's very academic, and I love that about it. I was very competitive academically in high school.
Okay.
I was never competitive with sports or anything like that. So um, I
People
guess
have
that's
their
like what my
pros and cons, right?
yeah,
Some people are driven academically, some people are driven with the sports in their
physically,
school, physically. So
yeah,
it's good to know that. Um,
yeah.
so are you currently still studying medicine?
Well, I work for a medical journal where I edit, and I also do their marketing strategy.
And what does that medical journal sort of involve? I mean, what does it cover in terms of, is it a
Specialties.
broad field or is
It
it
is.
like
It's a very broad number of specialties that they work with. Like we accept research from, I mean, just so many specialties like oncology, hematology, um, plastics.
okay.
Like it's just so many.
And
Neuro.
you cover that journal covers all these aspects of medicine that
Yes.
are involved.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. Good to know
Yeah.
that.
It's
I
peer
mean,
reviewed and it's open access. It's really cool.
and this is why I do this, spread the I didn't know about this and you're telling me this, so it's good to, can you tell me what that medical journal is called?
It's called Curious. Cureus.
Okay, I might check it out later.
Awesome.
Just see what. So while doing this, obviously, have they written something about the COVID and all that kind of stuff that's
Oh, we
happened?
get author submissions writing in about COVID research every day.
Okay. And what's your take on this right now? I mean, I don't want to get too much into COVID and all that kind of stuff, but how has it been in the US for you guys?
Well, the U.S. is structured so that, we have states that create rules for their states, right? So
Of
every
course.
state is so different, and their governance is so entirely different from the next state. And it's very political, and the governors don't have the same ideologies about what should happen. So, we have a governor in Florida who just, wanted to reopen immediately and did so. And then, you have consequences for that. It's just, it's so up in the air because as a country, like we're not very
Unified.
mobilized, um, unified. Yeah, exactly. Unified. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that makes things hard to work on a national scale. So it's very confusing here is what I'll say.
It's like that state's doing this, why can't I do that? You're part of the same
Yeah.
country,
Yeah, exactly.
but
Yeah.
it's confusing for a lot of people out here as well. I mean, like being in Europe as well, London or the UK is different to what's happening in Italy. Italy is different to what's happening in, Russia, Germany, all that kind of stuff. It's so confusing of how different countries are taking their medical approach towards this COVID, and people are just stuck, confused of why they're
Oh yeah,
being
totally
told to do that.
confused. And also, like our country is like so divided as it is with our leadership. Half the country hates Trump, and half, well, a little less than half of them love him. So it's just hard to work together on things when we're already so divided.
I mean, I wouldn't say I hate him or I love him, but the fact is that he's achieved what he's achieved, right? And he has achieved the presidency of the US. So, I mean,
He did achieve that. We do have a very interesting voting count.
yep.
Some of our states are worth more than other of our states, which doesn't
Okay.
always make sense.
Worth
We,
more economically, you mean?
no, we have an electoral vote.
Okay.
So some of our states, are worth more in terms of voting than our
Okay.
other states.
Got you.
So he didn't get the popular vote, which would mean that he was, inducted based on the population of our country. But that's not what happened. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain if you don't. The U.S. politics system
Let's
is
not.
ridiculous.
I mean, the only time when I was at university, I studied business, and doing 2 years of business, I got really bored of it, and politics because I was so bored. I was like, I need some, juice in my life with going to university. I need to look forward to going to university. So I picked up international politics. Little did I know that I'm going to be studying US politics all the way
Oh my
through.
gosh. Yeah. Wow.
So, even though it wasn't,
Crazy.
there were parts where UK was involved, but mostly it was just all about US and how they sort of
Well,
control the world.
very interesting political system here.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure.
I don't really believe in a I don't
Sorry,
really
you were saying.
believe in a two-party. I don't really believe in a two-party system. I just don't think it works that well. I think that it makes issues much more black and white than they
Of
really
course,
are, and
of
I think
course.
it provokes a divisive um, country. And I think when there are only really two parties that are represented, it implies that there are only two options.
Of course.
And there really shouldn't be. Like, France has like 5 or 6 political parties that are all
Yep, yep,
adequately represented and taken
yep,
seriously.
yep.
And that
And
to
same with
me
the
is
UK.
real, right. That to me is real democracy and how democracy should function.
Yep.
But that's just my opinion.
Uh,
I
let's
do
not
love
get
my country. Like, I love the
Of
US
course, we're all
and I
passionate
love its
about our country.
history.
We're
And
all patriotic about our country, but
yeah,
it's the fact that
yeah.
politics sort of screws that kind of passion, that patriotism. But let's not get into politics. It was good to know about your medical background. Let's get to your musical background. So, when did you first pick up music as your way forward, or I mean, I know it was your passion, but sort of when did you get onto the mainstream kind of thing?
Sure. Well, I've been singing since I could talk, and then I started playing guitar in the 5th grade. My brother taught me how. And then we started playing shows together when I was in middle school, all over Cleveland and Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
And then, in high school and college, I was playing shows by myself, just gigging randomly and recording things.
Okay.
And then I kind of dropped off from music and pursued fashion for a long time.
Okay.
I worked for a fashion magazine for 3 years.
Okay.
And while I moved to Los Angeles to do that, and while I was there, I met a lot of musicians, and I was playing my music that I had written for them, and they were like, "What, are you crazy? Like, why would you give this up? You have to be doing that." So I got back into it because I was writing so much music when I moved to Los Angeles. It was just pouring out of me,
I mean,
and
how do
I
you
was so inspired.
how do you get that inspiration to write music? I mean, it's for me, it's tough as it is to write a caption on Instagram, but it's like you come out. I mean, songwriters come out with songs every time. How do you go about doing that? I mean, where does
Well,
that come to you?
sometimes, yeah, it's weird. I just have like moments of inspiration. Like, I woke up the other day and I was walking my dog, and I just started thinking about like a melody, and
Okay.
I was like, "Dun, da, da, dun, dun, na, 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 na." And I'm like, did I make that up or like what? And then I started putting lyrics to it. I was like,
Words to
why
it.
stick around if it's not wise? All my friends are dropping like flies. And I just started like, riffing with it and stuff. And then you make a song. It's like putting together a puzzle in a way, because you have the chords and you have the melody and you have the lyrics, and
But isn't it
you
hard
just
to
kind
sort of isn't it hard to rhyme the verses like one after the other?
I guess for some people.
I
But
mean,
if you've been
really.
doing it your whole life, it's just like a fun wordplay practice that you just keep doing because you are obsessed.
I mean, who have you written for so far? I mean, can you give me some like
I
three,
mean, I
four
just write
names?
for myself. I don't
Okay,
really
you're right.
write
You
for
don't
other
you
people.
don't you don't give it to anyone else.
No.
I
I
mean,
mean, I guess I would maybe,
if
but
you
it
had
would
to
have
write
to
a
be.
song for someone, who would that be?
Um, I don't know. I don't want to.
All
I
right.
don't know anybody well enough to write a song for them.
Okay. I mean, normally a lot of songwriters do sell their songs, right? To
I
to
know.
to to
I know.
top
I've
artists.
I've I've been told that I should do that and encouraged to do that, but I don't really have any passion or desire to do that.
To give it to someone, to give your hard work to someone just to sing it.
Yeah, no, not really. I don't know, like
Uh,
songs are like babies to me. I don't know, like,
of
and it
course,
didn't come out of them, so like why it wouldn't be organic to me. That's what it would feel like. It,
of course.
I mean, like, not that I disagree with adoption or something like that, but it would have to be a very right circumstance.
I don't want to get into the right circumstance for you. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when that's going to come, but whenever it does, do share it with us. So now that you're performing and you're doing your gigs and all that kind of stuff, did you ever? I mean, have you ever thought to go like mainstream, like commercial kind of thing, or you just want to stay at the back? I mean, not be
Commercial.
commercial.
Okay,
Like
well,
out there, like for
you have to be
example, like
like chosen and selected
Rihanna,
for
or
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, A, I don't look like Rihanna, and
No, you
B,
don't have
like
to. You just have to sing like her.
Rihanna doesn't. She's not really a songwriter, you know.
Okay,
So she is a singer and a
okay,
performer.
okay.
So I mean, I like to perform and I like to sing, but it's not really like my main thing. Um, Plus, Rihanna does like pop hits, and that's not what I really write. I write like quirky, weird music. So it's only for a specific kind of listener. It's for people who like NPR and like Alanis Morissette and Fiona Apple and weird stuff like that. Um,
Okay. I
so
mean,
no, I guess.
but why do you put yourself as a weird category? I mean, I'm sure that people who listen to you don't think you're weird, or your song's not weird, but why do you think that it's in that weird category? I mean, what sort of genre do you like to perform, or what sort of songs are within your genre kind of thing?
So I guess I would call it like indie pop and roll, but I kind of
Okay.
made that genre up. You know, it's like indie music. It's, you know, and why do I call it weird? I just guess because of what you said before, like why don't you go more mainstream? Because I'm not mainstream,
Okay.
and you know, my lyrics don't fit inside the kind of mainstream trap.
Act.
You
Okay.
know, they're not. I don't know. It's just a little different, and it's not what the average listener cares for. I
Well,
would think, um, and you know, based on statistics.
super. I mean, are you ever going to perform in the UK?
I hope
If you have,
so. Gosh, I
if you,
really want to. I would love to.
and would that be Wembley or would that be the O2? I mean, where do you think you would want to perform?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about the venues there.
I mean,
Um,
Wembley is like Madison Square Garden kind of thing. You know, everyone wants to
that
perform
would
at
be
Wembley.
great. That would be great if I could open for somebody there someday.
That's amazing. So I wish you all the best on that.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you just released your album and you've got another album that's going to be released this year. And that album, how many tracks does it have on there? And how did you manage to sort of go about and produce that album?
Sure, yeah. So the first album, I think it has 8 tracks on it. Yeah, 8. Okay. It's called Raised on Porn. It's um it's about fighting phoniness and inauthenticity in the world,
Okay.
and just being honest with yourself. And because I think the world is kind of filled with a lot of um, phoniness with like reality television and cosmetic surgery and
Of
all
course.
this stuff that we navigate, and it infects our personal
The
relationships.
Kardashians.
Yes, yes. So, um, I mean, the album isn't exactly about that, but it inspired that. I think just moving to Los Angeles and having those things be so in my face. And so, how I went about producing it, I just have friends who are producers and musicians, and we all
Okay.
kind of worked together to make it happen.
Okay.
And there's a lot of really talented musicians
Of
featured
course. I
on
mean,
this, and
it's
it was
it's
really fun to put it together. And then we had an amazing album release party back in February with like 300 people there, and it was
wow.
incredible. Yeah.
Wow. And how long did it take you to produce that album from start to finish?
It took about 2 years.
Wow.
And honestly, I had tracks on there that aren't on there, and they'll be on the second one.
Okay.
Um, but you know, I have so much material written. It's just about finding the right sounds for them.
Okay.
So you can write a song, but then the song has to be built,
Built as
you know,
in,
produced. So like
okay,
I write my songs on acoustic guitar, right? It's just my
okay,
voice and my guitar.
okay.
But that's not done.
It's the green guitar
There's
that you have in your photos.
yeah, I do use that one a lot. And then I'm home right now, so I've got that one right there.
Okay.
I have so many guitars, it's just absurd. Um, but yeah, you have to build it up, and the producer should know what the song should sound like when it's done. They have to kind of read your mind and
Got you.
think, oh, this needs timpani, and this needs a tambourine, and this needs like a trumpet solo right here, and they have to
So they
be
need to be on
wildly
the
creative.
same, they have to feel that song to be on
Vision,
the same wavelength with you to
yes,
produce it in the right manner that you want.
exactly.
Super.
And it's
That's,
not easy to find that person
I mean, I'm
or those
sure it
people.
took you 2 years to do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And when is the next album out? And sorry, before I go to the second album, what's the first album called?
It's called Raised on Porn.
Yes, you did mention. And the second album that you're doing, when can we look forward to that? And when is it, what is it called?
Yeah, so the second album will hopefully be out this year, before the end of the year.
Okay,
And it's called Everyday Existential Crisis.
okay. And what inspired you to choose that title?
Well, I wrote a song called Everyday Existential Crisis, and I wrote that song because I felt like, every day we're confronted with like just crazy decisions, and it's hard to make up your mind about what you're supposed to be doing here on planet Earth, and if you're doing the right thing, and always questioning and wondering that, and what is the right thing, and am I with the
Okay.
right person, am I the right me, and all
So
these obnoxious questions.
it's all about that. I mean, those thoughts that come to
Yeah,
everybody's mind, right? That why I'm
yeah,
on this planet. What am I doing
yeah,
here?
yeah.
That's a good way to sort of capture all those thoughts in one and put it together. So now that we've covered all these parts, what's the next big thing in the Madeline Roseanne world?
So I am working on sync placements. So that basically means I want to get my music placed in movies or TV or commercial.
Okay,
So right now I'm working on hopefully placed in this indie film.
okay.
So that will be a big step, and then hopefully there'll be more of that to come. That's those are like my biggest goals. Is before I die, I want to have something
In
placed.
the movie or on
Um,
the TV show.
yeah, something. Hopefully a few. Um, I have a lot of goals with that. So,
I'm sure, and I wish you all the best on that. I mean, firstly, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing all
oh,
that
my pleasure.
knowledge with us on what you do
Yeah.
and how you go about doing it. I wish you all the best for your success, whatever you
You
do.
too.
I mean, in music. But if you do come down to London and you perform in London, do shout out and I'll be there.
Oh my God, I would love that.
Super. But before you go, I do this with all my guests that come on here, and I ask them to share positive advice with the world out here that we're living in. I mean, a lot of negative sentiment around us with lockdown that happened, COVID, and during that period, people lost their jobs, businesses went bust, people didn't know what to do. They didn't know why are we on this planet. So if you can share some positive advice with us today that they can take that on board and move forward in life.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you were saying in DMs to sing something maybe, and I was thinking about one of my favorite like uplifting songs is by Alanis Morissette, and it's called "You Learn,"
Okay.
and it starts, "I recommend getting your heart trampled on to anyone. I recommend biting off more than you can chew to anyone." And I love that sentiment, just to live your life really hard and do everything that you can, no
To achieve
matter
your
what,
goal.
even if it hurts, and just keep going.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for coming on here and sharing all that with us. It's a pleasure to have you on, and I shall see you soon.
I'd love that. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Madeline. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye. So that was Madeline Roseanne, all the way from Ohio, and we spoke about why she's inspired to go out and songwrite, perform music, and sing what she writes. Absolutely amazing to have her here. Thank you to Madeline. A big, big thank you to Madeline to come on here and share that with us. Thank you to all the guests that tuned in today. It's a pleasure to have you on. Do tune in tomorrow where I've got a fashion designer with me at 6 p.m. UK time, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So thank you to everyone that tuned in. Have an amazing Thursday evening, whatever you're doing, and I shall see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.